Well, first, welcome to the show, everyone. I'm Angela Montoya. I'm here with Melanie Schubert. We just had on an amazing guest, and we're going to keep this intro short today, or as short as Melanie will allow it.
I'm not too fussed. Although I will say, like, now that we've had this extra interview with Holden this week, like, well, it wasn't extra, but somehow we wound up with like three, 4 episodes.
Yeah.
But I feel like I really want to release his like ASAP. So I'll probably like hustle to drop Camilla's tonight and then maybe try do Holden's tomorrow, like when
Okay.
everything's happening. We'll just have a
Yes.
bonus episode to celebrate the release. What do you reckon?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's really cool. I mean, frick, that is so cool that he took the time to chat with us during what is one of probably the biggest weeks of his life. It's
Right.
pretty cool. Yeah.
I didn't realize you guys don't have Stan. I thought that was like over
I don't
here
think
in my
so.
mind, Stan is as big as Netflix. Like it's like you
Oh,
gotta
let
have,
me look.
that's where RuPaul's is for me. They put like
Oh,
RuPaul's on there
interesting.
and like so it's just another channel like I mean another streaming
Stan
platform.
streaming service. Aussie only, Australia
Is the
only.
only. Well, we're just gonna have to make a lot of song and dance so that America realizes how much they want Invisible Boys series in their streaming capability. Honestly, I think it's gonna pop off. I think it's gonna be something major like when did you ever watch Skins?
No, I haven't. But is that an Australian show?
No, that's UK. But like
Okay.
that's one of the ones that just went like so major. And like the reason I probably think of that one is it was also teen, but like super gritty, like super like voicey, super raw. Like, the kids are doing like they're doing drugs. It's like that there's like themes of suicide, whatever. Like it's like a real slice of life of like growing up in like a troubled teenage environment. You know what I mean? And I think like
Yes.
that chat we were having with Holden really fascinates me because yeah, like we mentioned, like his book is super voicey, super gritty. Nothing's been censored. They really speak like and he said that the series is like that too. In the book, they really speak like how you imagine like four gay young men growing up in like a bogan Australian town would. Like
Yeah.
there's no censoring of like their thoughts and like, but that's what made you feel like you're living in their heads. You know what I mean? Like I really lived in those four boys' heads anytime they were on the page, you know? And and yeah, it's interesting me to think about like how you write, like how we kind of still maybe censor ourselves, but it's like yeah, it does kind of seem to be, especially in YA, hard to kind of like not do that.
Yeah. No, yeah, I think that's the the hard like
Chestnut.
yeah, the hard nut to crack. It's really complicated, I think,
It is.
because you do want to have stories like Holden's. We need them,
Mm,
obviously. I mean, he's been finding his readers in those last 5 years, I think he mentioned.
yeah.
Like there are readers and there's a viewership that is desperate for honest, real, hard probably to read and watch stories, but they're honest.
Mm,
Um, and I think, and I haven't watched Euphoria, but again, I think it's like that as well, where it's like they're not holding back
mm,
anything, which I haven't watched it yet. But so it's like we absolutely need those stories, but we
mm.
also need stories that are gentle
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
are conscious of what they say and what they portray. So it's like a weird, I think, balance, but
Yeah.
I don't think we should ever feel like we should censor if that's what your characters would really and truly
Mm,
experience and feel.
yeah.
Yeah, I think it's an answer I don't have on,
No,
like,
I think
on
your
what's
answer,
right and wrong or what, but
yeah.
I think we need them.
I think your answer is perfect, like with most things in life. People are so much more comfortable when they have a box to put things in, but the reality is most of life is not like that. At least what I've experienced. Like it's very, even like certain labels and stuff we give ourselves, very rarely does it encompass the full lived experience of one human, let alone the next, you know? And I think
Yeah.
about that a lot lately. Like if we could just like be more open-hearted to like not expect each other to like all be the same or like all fulfill this exact criteria and instead like judge by what really matters, which are like people's intentions, people's heart, you know,
Yes.
people's desire for
Yes.
goodness and stuff in the world. And yeah, like the more I kind of like hear from different people, even on the podcast and stuff, the more clear it becomes to me that like, yeah, everyone can have such different walks of life. And there can be good and bad people from every single one of those walks, no matter what the label is,
Yes.
you know.
100
And what matters
billion
is the heart.
percent.
That's you, energy doesn't lie. Like you can feel that. And yeah, so I think that it's that nuance. We need both. We need the soft, gentle stories that steer us to like a kinder world. And we need the raw, gritty stories that show us like for me, what really struck me, and I just have chills thinking about it now, the title Invisible Boys, I kind of feel emotional every time I think about that
Mm.
because that's the whole point, right? The like I'm literally feel emotional about now. That's the whole point. These boys have to hide. You know, they can't feel free to be themselves and or like even if they do, there's like these labels then that they're like, ah, do I have to be like a stereotype or like whatever? Like, there's so, yeah, like, and again, if people could just be gentle and let people like work their shit out from a place of like softness. But I think for me, reading this side of things where there was the hardness, like the bullying, the like abuse, the homophobia, like you really understand why it's so important to shout these stories from the rooftops and why it's so important to highlight these voices because it's not written like 100 years ago, you know, and these are still very real things that like shouldn't even be up for conversation, but are sometimes, you know?
Mm.
And I just
Mm-hmm.
want a world where, you know, that doesn't have to be like that, where people can feel safe to like step out in their own skin and not fear for that, you know?
Yes. No, and I think that's why these stories are so important and
Mm.
necessary. And it's good, I think, to make readers, viewers, whoever feel uncomfortable and understand that the world is hard for
Mm.
so many people, um, you know, that live different than the quote unquote like status quo, that have for whatever. I mean, it could, there's so many things and there's so many like different backgrounds, and you just, life is so hard for so many people.
Mm.
And I think exposing the grittiness, the realness, the terribleness of it all, builds empathy for those who have never experienced any
Yeah.
kind of heartbreak like that. And so yeah, like it's honest. I just bought my copy
Did
of
you?
Invisible
Oh
Boys.
my
Yes, I
gosh,
just bought like as soon as we got it off.
I literally was like, I'm gonna send you a copy if you don't buy it because like I want you to see what he does with that piece. Like and and what he pulls off with it. Like I honestly think it's a work of our time what he manages to pull off with it. Like something that surprised me. And when it surprised me, I felt ashamed. I hadn't, not ashamed. I just was like, ah, there it is. I didn't catch it either. And
Mm.
and that moment, I was just like, oh, fuck. I've got just chills remembering reading that book because there's so much in it. And like I feel like sometimes because society yeah, like because and again, I'm not like dissing the softer books either. I'm so here for that, and I want all the warm, fuzzy, good vibes as
Yeah.
well. Um, but like, yeah, reading something like this and just understanding like why it matters and like and just like I don't know, just like seeing, I just think books like this can change people. It can change how they see things. It can change like something that you might have thought was one way. And I do feel like because of like possibly the language and themes, like some people might feel discouraged to read it.
Hmm.
And and that would be a tragedy. I just feel like those are the people who need to read it the most. I'm just like, just try to understand what people are actually living through under the surface, like, yeah, I don't want to give you any spoilers, but there's so much I want to discuss with you about that book. And yeah, like I just like the theme in my mind is like, I watch so much RuPaul's Drag Race and it never fails to like bring me to tears when one of those kids talks about how they like came out or like they were trans or whatever was their journey. And I've lost count of how many of them were kicked out of their homes. Now, I'm not a parent, but like I can't imagine like disowning your child over something that's like a part of them. Like
Hmm.
I can't fathom it. And you can only think that these people must be so like stuck in one way of thinking. And yeah, I just hope that more things like this can just I think I'm very passionate about it because I grew up with those kinds of thinkers. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
So when you see the kinds of things that can help shift that lens and like, yeah. Anyway, I'm very excited for you to read it. Needless to say.
I am too. I am too. And yes, yes, here to support all of these stories. And I think like I just think of the the states in particular and like what we're going through with
Mm,
this administration and I think the power of empathy is such a beautiful thing and the power of knowledge is so important. It's like I think a lot of the times when these parents kick out their babies, their kids because of something that they have no control over. That's just
yeah.
who these kids are. Um a lot of it is because it's fear based on their own whatever they have going on in their own sort of lives,
Mm,
religious based. It's all these things where they cut off any sort of learning, like any sort of trying to understand
yeah.
or to be empathetic. And so like the arts, I feel like is always the battleground
The,
for building empathy and like having books and having stories and shows like this
mm,
constantly is like butting up against everybody that is so close-minded
mm.
and I hope all these stories I hope RuPaul's Drag Race finds every household because it really and truly does give you a glimpse into these beautiful human beings, their
Yeah.
beautiful souls. And yeah, I swear every like whenever the queens are in the backstage area or like in the workroom and they're telling their stories,
Mm.
every single time I'm like, I'm gonna punch whoever's parent, like their
Yeah,
parents. I'm
same.
gonna go and punch them in the face.
It's I and then just there's just like this deep sorrow that this like beautiful, sensitive, like creative, like I just can't understand it. Like life is so rare and wild and bizarre. And then you make this choice, right, to bring a being to life, this rare thing that like is wild that's even possible, right? And you have this like thing, right? This person that you are responsible for. And then you're like, but here's this fucking long list of bullshit that I expect from you. And like, where do people get the audacity? I don't get it.
Right.
Like, maybe I'm not allowed to say that because I'm not a parent, but I feel like as a human, you are like sometimes a mother, sometimes a sister, sometimes a
Yeah.
brother, sometimes a whatever to your friends, you know? And even with my friends, I just can't fathom how you can like shut your heart so deeply to like people who like are good, even if
Right.
like maybe their lifestyle doesn't match yours or you don't understand it. That's okay. You don't have to do, no one's telling you you have to do it, whatever it
Hmm.
is. No one's telling you. But like to like be so like rigid and like angry and like I just it's a long sigh. I'm gonna get off my soapbox now before you and I burn the burn it all
We're
to
gonna burn the world down. Burn it down. I hate people.
Sometimes
Yeah.
some days I've got that chip on my shoulder bad and I'm just like I just if another person looks at me funny, I'm just like
Yes.
then
Well,
the smallest thing as well can swing me the other way and I'll just be like, that's why I love people.
yes. Yeah, you get both, the good and the bad. No, it's true. Like it's funny because I have three sisters. Two of my sisters are lesbians.
Yeah.
And I kid you not, well, it takes a lot to offend me, but if I hear if literally anybody like whenever I introduce them like this is my sister's wife, if I even see a look
Oh yeah.
on someone's face, I'm like, they're not allowed in my house ever again. Like I'm done. And I don't care if you're my uncle. You're not coming over. It's I think it's just I don't know. People are I think people are
People are
just
afraid and they're cruel.
yeah.
They're cruel. And when I see people doing that these days, I understand that they have not found it within themselves to look into their hearts and like even try to meet themselves even a little bit of anything. Because anyone who has looked into their soul like and like ask themselves some basic questions about what it is to be human. Like I'm with you and I fucking love you so hard for being like that because I'm the same now. Like if I feel like even a blip in the atmosphere, I feel like that's the shit when I could go cataclysmic on someone, you know, if somebody like said something about one of my friends like that, or if you even like sense the shift in the room, I'm just not about it anymore. I'm so tired and I'm so protective of those people. So,
Yes, protect our people,
yeah,
everyone. Everybody
exactly.
protect each other and
Protect
your
each other
wellness.
and just fucking be nice to each other, you know? Like, it's, yeah, but I honestly think it comes from a place of fear and people would rather be angry and afraid than actually ask questions that make them feel uncomfortable. Because once you start
Yes.
asking those some of those questions, it can all come undone really quickly. Like if you like maybe have, you know, a certain line of thinking or whatever,
Yeah, the
can
plot
make
holes
really,
start
yeah, yeah, the
opening up.
bitch, literally. The plot holes open up hard. Ah,
It's true.
but anyway,
Yeah.
speaking of plot holes,
Well,
I wanted to come back around to some other Aussie dramas, and you brought up the apple cider vinegar doco.
yes. I can't wait. I'm gonna go watch it right after this. Like,
Yes.
cool. Just this bitch, this
Mm-hmm.
bitch, Belle Gibson.
Yeah.
So wait, okay. Not to give spoilers, I'll ask you. Well, no, I'll learn it in the next episode, I'm sure. There's so much to unpack. So basically, this woman gave herself a diagnosis, right, of a brain tumor. Like
Yep.
she didn't have nothing
Mm.
and started on this wellness kit to basically make herself a victim, I feel like, and to get all the attention, right? It
Mm-hmm.
was never even about helping a soul or anything. It was purely,
Yeah. I struggle to believe any of it was for anything other than attention. Like, just it's funny because like I was listening to our friend Robin put up a reel today about somebody who like some fake account that like followed her and then ghosted her and whatever. And she's like, and I just literally commented on that post like 5 minutes ago or whatever. And I was just like, I wish trolls could understand that if they put half the energy they do into trolling people and making fake accounts and like making fake relationships, if they put half that energy into faking being someone they're not, into actually forging real connections with people and like just trying to be a good person, they might actually have the life and community that they dreamed of. Like it's so, this shit is so much, like she literally made this entire empire. It's so much energy like around a lie. And
Diabolical.
it's diabolical. Like, man, and the thing is, people might have been interested in her fucking recipes anyway. Like, she didn't need to make up
Yeah.
this whole lie. Although I have a feeling, I haven't watched it to the end yet, but I have a feeling the recipes aren't hers either. So
Oh,
just like,
yeah. That's because that was one of the things where that the girl was at her book signing and grabbed the
yes,
recipe book.
it's wild to watch. Hey,
Hmm.
I love, some
Yes.
people don't like the way I'm seeing there's some negative reviews for the filming style, but I think it's the opposite. I think the jarring way sometimes how she looks in the camera and she's like, this is based on, like it's kind of adds to the off-kilter vibe to me.
There, I am off kilter when she
I'm
does that.
so off-kilter when she does it, and they do chop and change the timeline. But again,
Yeah.
I don't think it was on accident. The more they do that, the more you feel like you're in this like maelstrom of like bullshit.
Y-
And you
That's exactly how it feels. Yeah.
yeah, I think it's all purposeful. I think it's a bloody masterpiece. So yeah, I'm so excited you dove straight into it. I knew you would. I could see your little eyes lighting up like at the it feels like, the tea. You know this
Yes.
that's when like a story or like news or whatever, when it feels like the tea and you've just got to like kind of hear about it. But
Yeah. I was pumped when I like popped it on Netflix and it was like number three.
even there,
Uh, yes, in the States. It's like number three in like top ranking
that's
shows.
amazing. It's
Yeah.
number
So
one here because Australia,
Melbourne is getting
yeah.
the
I mean, for all the wrong reasons, but
it looks like a lovely area. It looks like a
Mhm.
lovely place. I swear it's funny because I like watching the background, the scenes. I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, I could totally see Melanie like hanging out at that little
Yeah.
coffee shop or at the bar or wherever. Like it just that town just screams Melanie Schubert,
I've
the
probably been
city.
to most of the places in the thing. The more you see of Melbourne, when they show the hot springs, I go there as often as I can, and that's in my book. And when they show, there's a scene, I think that's in the first episode when she's by the beach and the city is in the background.
Yes.
That's my
That's pretty.
city. Yeah, that's my
It's just
city.
city.
I see that
It's
view all the
very
time
pretty.
when I go up the beach. Yeah. But
I
yes,
love
we
that.
will we will continue watching and discuss more, but it's just wild. It's wild what some people will do. And I feel like Para said this to me once for other reasons. She was like, she likes the reminder sometimes that like there's people like this. Even though it's horrible to watch,
Yes.
sometimes it's important to remember that there's some people you need to watch out for. Not everyone has your best interests at heart.
Mm.
Like
No. Oh my God. That's real.
yeah. That's
That's real.
real. And you don't want to be
Yeah.
suspicious of everyone, but I think historically I was maybe gave people too much trust or something. I read a quote the other day and she was like, I used to give people 100 and then I'd be disappointed all the time. She was like, now I give people 50. She was like, if they're not giving me 50%, like I'm interested to get to know you more, good vibes, whatever. She's like, actually, I'm done. If it starts to go down from 50, I'm done. She's like, it should
Yeah.
start to go up from 50 and you like them more and whatever.
Give him 50. No, actually, I just had this conversation with Armando because
Yeah.
he's like, he gets upset. Like, people are so disappointing and, like, don't keep their word. And I've told him, like, I think because if you give your word, like, you're
Mm.
gonna do the thing and he doesn't tell lies. Like, he's
Yeah.
gonna just say what he's gonna do.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But a lot of people that maybe he's like interacting with, that's just not how they work, and that's why they're so disappointing because he would never do that himself. And so I think you put your own like
Yeah.
reflection in on other people as you interact. Like, oh, I would never take, I don't know. I think like integrity and
Yeah, yeah.
being like kind and giving and trustworthy.
Yeah.
You expect that automatically, like, because that's you feel like that's just what humans are, but it's no, it's just you, and that a lot of humans aren't that way, and that's why they're so
Yeah.
disappointing so often. Dang humans again,
I know.
dang humans.
I know. When I think about it, I get mad and sad, but then I remember that there's people like good people in amongst it, and those are the ones I keep my eyes open for now. And I love the 50% example that that lady gave because you feel that actually when you meet someone. You actually feel the energy either starts to expand or shrivel in your body. You know, you're like you either like open towards them. That's how it feels for me at least when I meet someone. My energy either like feels like it's opening towards them and I want to know more and I naturally have questions and I want to push through whatever anxiety I'm experiencing or the opposite. Everything they say prickles me kind of and I'm just like, or sometimes it just flatlines and you're just different energy, whatever. But like, yeah, gotta watch out for the Bell Gibsons, basically. I feel like I
Which is
had
hard.
some in my life. I
You've
won't
had some
name
Bell
names, but I
Gibsons.
I feel like I've had maybe not to that extreme, but then again, there was this one friend that I grew up with, and honestly, she probably was a Belle Gibson. I feel like she would have gone there, like making up stories and just, you know how when she speaks, everything is so calculated. And but then if you like get on her wrong side, she like gets like really agitated. The Belle Gibson chick, when she's having
Mm-hmm.
conversations, she's like saccharine sweet and she has the right thing to say straight away. But then if she's not getting what she wants, she becomes quite devious and like cunty.
And not in a good way.
And not in the good way. Not in the good way. But anyway, all of that aside, I completely forgot to tell you. I started reading an absolutely electric tome in the last
Oh
couple days.
yeah.
Like, I I am immersed as we speak in a magical, in a frightening at times carnival.
Yes.
Fantastico. Um, sorry, Miss about to blow the freaking fantasy YA scene out of its cloaca. Like, I am frothing over Ignacio's chapters, especially. Like,
Yay.
you have hit so many like it's deep, it's funny, it's magical. Like I I still think that it's maybe the only thing I can immediately think of that can actually comp to Caraval.
I'm gonna take it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna take that.
Yeah, because like if I remember finishing that and being like, I wish there was more books in this genre, in this cat whatever category genre. I can never remember genre.
Yeah.
And there never was. I feel like yours actually hits that spot of like, ooh, I wanted to read something like Caraval and like yeah, because it's keeping me on my toes. It's like
Hmm.
also I have to say, I just want to tell you, like, you know, I read your kind of scrappy short first drafts. Like, I read this book when it was like, I don't know, like 20 pages or 50 pages or something. It was like a really condensed version. And
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
yeah. And same with The Cruel Thirst. I read it when it was like a small version, but it had all the themes and you were like fleshing out the characters already. Like, I just can't believe how you still keep the essence of what I saw on those early pages. It still feels the same, but it's like now fully fleshed. Like it's wild to me that even your early drafts that you're so hard on are still
Yeah.
legendary. Like it still feels like this. So,
Thank you.
anyway, I'm obsessed. I'm obsessed with you. I'm obsessed with all your books, and I feel like very excited about this one to come out.
Thank you. Yes, I feel excited about this one too.
Mm,
It feels different from it feels different from my other stuff,
yeah,
but also similar, obviously, but it does feel different. So
it does.
we'll see. I think I'm hoping that I just keep learning and just keep stepping up the game every
Mm,
single time. So it's like you hear like little nuggets that just really stick with you, and
yeah.
you're like, oh, okay, that's it right there. That's the sauce. And I kid you not, Nikki Payne, and I think she just threw it out. It was
Mm,
just like a throwaway comment, but it's freaking stuck with me when it comes to romances. How like for her, she loves when I want to say it was a male character in particular, like notices the little things about his love interest.
mm,
And she doesn't have to ask him to do these things, but he just notices them and does them anyways, like he just sees her, whatever, she looks parched, and so he's gonna go and get her, it's like these little
yeah.
things, and just adding those in, just like, yeah. So shout out to Nikki Payne, because she made me think with this
Yeah.
next one.
Or you made me think as well just then. I was literally going to ask you like what are some of the nuggets that you feel like you've picked up, but that's a good one. And I think that's just real in life, like if again, like if it's a good relationship, friendship or romantic or whatever, it's like it's feeling seen by those people that expands the feelings. And like I think when you really care about someone, it's just instinctive to that like overflow of love that you're like, like whatever it is, these little things, you're like, oh, they said that like they were gonna have their period and they felt like chocolate and they bring you chocolate, like whatever it is. But
Yes.
like, yes, I'm
Good.
excited. I'm excited for the world to have another Montoya. I feel like it's gonna be here sooner than we think.
I'm right. It always comes. It feels like forever, and then all of a sudden she's here.
She
So
is,
yeah,
yeah.
yes,
But
we're working
maybe
on her.
shall we read Holden's? Maybe we can have a slightly shorter one.
Yeah,
It'll
yeah, yeah,
be
yeah.
nice for me for editing
Oh,
later.
I was cracking up though while we were recording. I hoped you didn't notice, but you see this dog behind me? You
Yeah.
see Smokey? Okay, while Holden was talking, Smokey was working. He was
Yeah.
digging, he was digging into that beanbag to get the perfect like hole. And so behind me, I kept seeing Smokey going like, like digging into the thing. And so I kept trying to move like this to hide his ass.
I did feel like your head was really low down and to the side.
Yes, I was like, you can just, I don't, you'll probably won't see it because I don't know how, the recording wise, but this fucker right here
He's
was just like,
looking at you. I love when they do that nesting dance.
I think it's hilarious, but he was doing it for like 5 freaking minutes. I was like, bro, you
Damn.
already worked in. Look at him. Look how
But look
comfortable he
at
is,
how
too.
relaxed he looks now. It was worth the fuss. It was worth he's staring into my
Yes.
soul. Hi, Smoky boy.
Yeah, he looks kind of creepy right
He
now.
does. He does. Maybe he's seen
Yeah.
something. Oh,
Ew, he's creeping me out.
yeah, he is creepy. Pets are
Yeah.
weird like that. Now, you've read so many bios, I'm going to let you off the hook today.
Do you have the updated one, the one he emailed us?
Absolutely, I do.
Perfect.
So, dear listeners, today we were so lucky to have an absolute Aussie icon on, the Holden Sheppard, who is an author from Geraldton, Western Australia. His debut coming of age novel, Invisible Boys, won multiple accolades, including the 12. I can't speak. Can you tell I've been recording since this morning? His debut coming of age novel, Invisible Boys, won multiple accolades, including the 2018 City of Fremantle Hungerford Award and the 2019 Western Australian Premier's Book Award. Oh, that's a big one. And was adapted as a 2025 television series on Stan Australia. His second novel, The Brink, a thriller, won multiple accolades, and his third novel, King of Dirt, described as a modern-day Brokeback Mountain, will be published in June 2025. Holden's writing often focuses on themes of masculinity, sexuality, and mental health. He lives in Perth's north with his husband and his V8 Ute. What a legend!
Legend. Yes. I freaking love Holden.
Yeah, and we're gonna have to get him back on when the next book comes out because we all got so chatty. But that's my favorite episodes. We got so chatty. We didn't get through most of our questions, but we'll just have him back on and cheer about
Yeah.
his next book. But today we're cheering about Invisible Boys, which is becoming a series tomorrow. And I cannot fucking wait. So here he
I'm
is.
jealous.
Hi, how's it going?
G'day guys, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm so great. I'm so sorry I'm a couple of minutes late.
No, that we were just talking. It sounds like you are having a wild week this week, right? So thank you for being here with us.
No, thanks for the opportunity. It's yeah, one of the best weeks ever for me. It's been a really, really fun time. So happy to talk about it. And yeah, this is part of the excitement, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's amazing.
it's tomorrow. Is it tomorrow?
It's yeah, so tomorrow it drops. But we had the premiere on Monday night and it was like 400 people and it was like, the people at Stan, which is the network here in Australia, they kind of said, Holden Sheppard stand up and have a round of applause kind of thing. And career high kind of moment. It was like there's my wedding and there's that. And it was a
Wow.
nice moment. Yeah. So I'm in just a really great mood. So
Yeah.
yeah, thank you for letting me chat and thanks for the opportunity. Like I listened to some of your podcasts and yeah, super excited for it.
Oh, no, honestly, we are so excited to have you. Melanie has been chatting up about you for ages now. So I'm so excited to have you on and just get to know you more and all of the amazing things that you have going on. It's spectacular. So congratulations, truly.
Thank you, Angela. Thanks both of you.
Well, do you mind just telling our listeners a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, I'd love to. So my name is Holden Sheppard. I'm a novelist. I write realist contemporary fiction, and I've had two books out. So the first one is Invisible Boys, which is about a group of young gay men coming to terms with their sexuality in a regional country town in Australia. And my second novel, The Brink, was a thriller, and that one is about a group of high school leavers going on what we call leavers or schoolies in Australia. It might be maybe like spring break for you guys. I'm not
Okay.
sure. But they go on a big party at the end of high school, essentially, away, and which is usually meant to be fun. But then for these guys, there's a dead body right in the middle of their leavers week trip, which turns into a bit of a whodunit thriller. And my next book, King of Dirt, is out in June, and that's like a modern day Brokeback Mountain kind of situation.
Oh my gosh. When does that one come out again?
That is out 3rd of June with Pantera Press over here in Australia.
They
Yes.
sound amazing, honestly. Do you know, are they available in the States? I mean, I'm sure you
They
know,
can
but
be, I do have readers in the States. I have a lot of readers in, I want to say Dallas, and I don't know why, but I get a lot of messages from guys in Dallas and I want to say Kansas City as well. I've had like book clubs and stuff there. So there's like readers around the place who order the book in. And we're now, because the my first book, Invisible Boys, has just been made into a TV series that's launching as we speak in Australia. So because we're hoping that will get international attention, we're now kind of hoping to get the books over to the States as well. So watch this space in the next few months, and hopefully it'll be kind of widely available over there.
Oh my
yes. Oh my
gosh.
God. I'm excited, honestly. Your books sound amazing. And again, like I said, Melanie has just been
I've been
chatting you up,
raving.
talking you up. Yes.
Well, I have to say, like, your
Thank
book,
you.
Invisible Boys, like, it has to take the crown for the voiciest YA I've ever read in my life. Like, it is fucking voicey. Like, I laughed out loud, I cried, I just like I think it's a bloody masterpiece on well, which is why it's garnered this like love and attention for like extremely valid reasons. So yes, I'm so excited for the series to come out, and I'm so excited you've made the time to come on today. But yeah, I'm giving you that crown. I'm sure someone else has given it to you ahead of me.
No one has ever said it's the voiciest book. I've never heard the term voiciest, and I'm going to take that and I'm going to use that in future interviews, and I'll be like, someone once said this was the voiciest book they've ever read. That's YA. I'm so proud of that. I tried to write it from a place of not being like before this book, before Invisible Boys, and before the career that I have, I was trying to be like mainstream, commercially successful, very
Mm.
safe, action adventure, plot driven, no character, nothing about sexuality, nothing about mental health. Like just keep it really clean and wholesome. And
Yeah.
my work had no voice. It had no voice, no heart. And so I wrote this. I started writing from a place of like, well, screw it. That one didn't get published, so I may as well just write what I like and write the way I am, which is this Aussie. I'm a bit of a bogan, as we say here in Australia. Maybe the equivalent is redneck in the States, but with bogan's a little bit more affectionate, without so many kind of
Mm.
maybe negative connotations. But I thought, let me just write like that and see what happens. And it turns out if you go really doggedly insular into who you are and all the weird stuff about yourself, people relate.
Mm. 100%. That's where it's at because like I think a lot of people think these things and then seeing it on the page is like you remember that you're seen and you're not alone and that there's like people like you rather than this like censored version. I was actually so curious like working with publishers and being YA. Did you get any kickback for like how you wrote it or nah?
Totally. Yeah, no, it was hard. And so kind of the unseen pun unintended, but the unseen part of Invisible Boys was how much rejection it copped, funnily enough. So a lot of publishers were pointing that exact thing out because
Mm.
I didn't write it kind of thinking, how do I make a commercially
Yeah,
successful
yeah.
YA? Because I tried and failed that, right? So I just kind of wrote whatever I felt like. I wasn't necessarily thinking it's YA or adult or
Mm.
really anything. I was just writing what my own experience was like.
Yeah.
When I was 16, 17, growing up gay in Geraldton, or Gero, as we call it. I was just writing, this is how it felt, this is what I did. And, it ends up coming out as kind of an MA 15 plus R-rated kind of book, even though it's about 16, 17-year-olds. So that was just my honest
Mm.
experience. But then, yeah, when we got to my agent kind of pitching it to publishers, the feedback constantly was like, "Wow, we love this. It's beautiful writing. It's such a meaningful story, but it's too YA for adult, and it's too adult for YA, and that means we don't know how to place it in the market, and that means we don't think we can publish it." And
Mm.
so, and I get that it's a business, so you do kind of understand that. I'm very grateful to Fremantle Press, who's a small indie press here in Perth, who have a great reputation, and they're kind of like they went, we get why this is important. We're going to give it a push,
Yeah.
and it worked out. Like
Mm.
it shouldn't have been as successful. Like it didn't become a bestseller in the first 3 months. You know how we get told that books have that really
Mm.
short shelf life. That's not what Invisible Boys did. It was just this really, really, really long tail. And then after
Mm.
a while, it just started going up, which it's not meant to do. But it just kind of, the word of mouth kept this book rolling and rolling. It's now been out 5.5 years and it's still picking up pace. Like the momentum and sales are building. The TV show's making it more kind of popular than ever.
Mm.
So, it's kind of a sleeper hit, but it became a bestseller in Australian sales figures over a really long time, not all at once.
It's
I'm so glad.
amazing.
I'm so glad they let you leave it in because the way you've written it, you really get to climb into these young men's heads. Like that's what makes it so authentic because that is how I imagine exactly a group of young guys growing up in Jero speak, And yeah. I'm
Well,
so
Yeah, it was.
yeah, I'm sorry. I wanted to touch on that too because it's true. Like when it comes to young adult spaces in particular, it feels like you do need to be careful, or like the language you use. All of these things are very, um, I don't, yeah, like careful in many, many ways. Like the themes that you put on, all of that stuff. And I felt that even in my own writing and in the stories that I wanted to tell. But you went for it and it found its place. And I think there's something so beautiful about that
Mhm.
because we all don't fit in this singular box, and
Mm.
all of us have these different experiences, and it shows because look at how many readers have found your book and see themselves in it, or you know what I mean. So I think it's so powerful that you were able to find a publisher that was like,
Mm.
no, we're doing it. It's
I,
so spectacular.
I take my hat off to publishers who are willing to take risks like that, because it is, it is a risk on paper. If they're looking at this manuscript before it has awards and TV deals and things, if they're looking at it and just going, here's the story, it is a risk because it might flop. It might fall into that valley between YA and adult and no one reads it. But I think, I take my hat off to publishers who look at something and go, this has heart, and I think it will connect with people, and that's kind of what it's done. And I think we're in a very, very risk averse industry. And I think my sense is that it's a risk averse time. Like,
Mm.
publishers are not taking huge chances or giving big advances to anything that might not be a sure thing. But actually, it's sometimes those risky, weird books that don't fit and kind of defy categorization that they're the ones that people really connect with. And it's worth the risk sometimes. So, yeah, hat off to Fremantle Press and to anyone publishing stuff like this.
Hell yes. Yes.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
take the risk and like but I mean there's the readers out there and that need these stories
Mm.
and now you get to have it in an even bigger like scale where it's on fucking is it television or is it like a Netflix? Like what was it called? Stan?
It's
Stan.
called Stan. So
Okay.
I guess you could call it like an Aussie streamer. It's
Okay.
a Netflix type streamer.
Yeah.
But really great content on there, lots of Aussie stuff, and yeah, it's found its right home. They also didn't tone the show down, because
Love
there was
that.
a version of this where someone tries to adapt it, and maybe the streaming service or the network would go, can we just this is about teenage boys, and there would have been a version where they go, get rid of the porn, get rid of all the masturbation, get rid of all the sex. Like, just can we clean this up so it's palatable? And they didn't. The first script that was delivered to them, Stan essentially turned around and said, "We thought you were going to make this edgy." And
Oh.
so they kind of went, okay, let's we're going to ramp it up even more. And it is edgy. Like, it is not for anyone under the age of 15. It is very
Mm.
much, grown up graphic kind of stuff, but it's important. I'm really pumped for people to see it and react to it.
How was it? Maybe I'm jumping ahead, but now that we're on it, how was it for you seeing your characters come to life and all of that?
Yeah, totally surreal. And um, so I met the actors about a year ago up in Geraldton. So, for context, Geraldton is a regional town about 4 hours north of the nearest capital city, which is Perth in Western Australia. Um, Gero has desert on one side, desert on that side, desert on that side, and then an ocean here. So it's like a very isolated kind of place.
Mm.
And so I grew up there. I grew up as a young gay man there, and so that comes with its own challenges inherently in that kind of place. But I was really grateful that they filmed it up there, right? So they filmed it on location. It's very authentic, and so I went up to Geraldton and met the actors, and meeting them was awesome. But it was the moment when they interacted with each other in front of me that my little writer brain just kind of went like it just short circuited, because I think Aiden, who plays Zeke, and Zach, who plays Hammer, the footy jock, um, I was meeting one after the other, and they kind of came in and saw each other, and hey, they had a bro hug in front of me, right? And I just kind of, my little author brain from years ago when I wrote this story with these characters, it just kind of went, Zeke is hugging Hammer in front of me, like, and it's real, like it's actually happening right in front of me with real humans. So that was the moment where it was like, this is so surreal. These are characters I made up, and how lucky and how cool. And I know this doesn't happen often, and I'm just gonna soak it up and enjoy it.
Mm.
Yeah, you're living the writer dream. Like you are living it currently this week as we are speaking. You are living
Yes,
the
that's why there's
dream.
like this giant smile on my face. I'm usually kind of like a little bit scowly, but I'm just grinning ear to ear at the moment. Yeah.
Rightly so, rightly so. Like, can you take us through the process of, okay, we have the book out, it's building numbers to here we are, like we've got it on film. What was the process like of like that whole thing? Like, did you get the phone call from your manager and was like, guess what? Like, how did it all work out?
Yeah, so firstly, it's like a long journey, and I've been told repeatedly that for any writer, it will take years. I think possibly the Aussie film and TV industry is kind of maybe slower again. Obviously, America's Hollywood, and you've got much more money floating around, I assume, and things can sometimes move more quickly. Whereas in Australia, it can tend to take a few more years. I think the average can be anything from like 5 to 7 years from optioning to actually being on screens.
Mm.
So, and that's about right for this project. So it was about 2 weeks after the book came out, October 2019. I had we'd already had a couple of producers interested through my agent, and this particular situation, a director named Nicholas Verso slid into my DMs on Twitter
Wow.
and was just like, "Hey, just heard about your book. It sounds literally right up my alley for all these reasons. Have you ever considered adapting it? Because I would like to adapt it." And because it was sliding into my DMs on Twitter, I kind of didn't, at first, I didn't know how to take it, right? Because if you guys have been on Twitter, sometimes you get like all kinds of all
Mm.
kinds of stuff comes through, and you're like, cool, this is another spam thing, or this is, someone who has no experience at all, kind of just reaching. So I saw this DM and I was like, yeah, cool, whatever. Check the guy's profile, and I was like, oh no, he's an actual director. Like he's got credits to his name, and he's made a film, and he's made a few other things, and shot for TV. So yeah, it began that early, and we spoke to all three production companies who wanted it, including that director. We went with him. He was a gay man himself, and he saw the importance of. I had three things that I really wanted. I was like, it's
Mm.
got to be shot on location in Geraldton and Perth. It's got to be West Australian. It has to be just as edgy as the book, which we've delivered on that. And it had to show these different kinds of gay men. It couldn't just be kind of the stereotypes that we've known for many years, even though there's nothing wrong with a lot of those stereotypes.
Mm.
But the book was about all these different invisible boys who aren't always easily
Mm.
seen or identified as gay. And he kind of listed these three things off without prompting in the first kind of Zoom that we had. And I thought, well, that's the guy to give the rights to. So yeah, the options was 2020, and then it just goes through a whole process of essentially trying to get development funding to do writers' rooms and to get people on board as funding partners. So here in Australia, we had Screen West, we had Screen Australia, which is the national funding body. We had Stan, which is the network, and you get an international partner as well. So once you've kind of got all those things lined up, the show can get greenlit and get made. So yeah, there was a few years of writing, writers' rooms, brainstorming. I was in the rooms, which was really fun. I wrote episode 4 and episode 8 of the series. So that was a whole new experience. And yeah, 2023 we got greenlit. It filmed 2024 and it's out now in 2025.
Wow. What a journey. It's, man, like if you didn't know as a writer how long everything can take, you wouldn't believe that it can still be churning, like, and in fact gaining momentum sometimes at that point. It's just amazing to hear. Can you take us back to
Mm.
like the start? Like when do you think writing first drew you?
Writing was like super early for me. I started writing when I was 7,
Mm.
and it wasn't like a cute kind of like, here's my cute little story of a hobby. Like I was like dead set, 7 years old. I started writing. Do you know Enid Blyton?
Yeah.
Like there's very old English boarding school stories. I don't know if they're big in the States, but they were big in Australia, probably like in the 1930s. I'm talking like these are old books. But I was read them as a kid, and yeah, there's boarding school stories, and I just got very interested about like, where is the boarding school story set in the 1990s with an Aussie and a boy as the main character? And it didn't exist. So I just started writing it when I was 7.
Mm.
And in that little exercise book where I've written, my first book, I wrote, this book will be published when I'm 8, and it'll sell in Target for $2.75. I just had big dreams. I was just like, this is my career. I'm dead set. Like, I'm going to be an author. So yeah, like as much as it's like a funny story, I wasn't kidding around. Like I was very much driven and determined from that age that this is my career. I'm going to be a novelist, and it took longer than turning 8, as it turned out. I think I was 31 when Invisible Boys came out.
Wow. So yeah, tell us about your writing journey. I mean, when did you just keep writing since you were 7, or like Did how did it go for you? Did you do
Mm.
like the quote unquote traditional route where you got the agent and did all of that? Like tell us a little bit about your publishing journey.
Yeah, happy to. And I hope I don't ramble too long. Just intervene and like
No,
cut me off
that's
if you need
You're good. You're
to.
that's
good.
literally our favorite guest. Like we live for the side quests, you know?
The
So
side
please.
quests, okay, good. Sometimes my side quests have side quests, so I'll try to like stay on the
Nah,
path.
nah. I live for a side quest with a side quest as well. So go be free.
Great, great. I'm in good company. Um, yeah, so yeah, I was writing as a kid, and it was just very much, it wasn't good writing, but it was fun, and I
Mm.
kept it very private. When I was a teenager, I kind of shifted. I got very into Pokemon. I was a massive geek. I was massively into Pokemon. This is like the late 90s, early 2000s, right? So I spent all my teenage years writing Pokemon fan fiction. Like that was my thing. I was a nerd and I was also very like committed to it. So I was like posting Pokemon fan fiction. I had readers online. I had readers from America. I had, they were adults, and it felt here's this 13, 14-year-old boy from Australia kind of putting stuff on the internet. And it was really cool to have people responding to it and asking for the next chapter and that kind of stuff. So that was maybe my first taste of like, oh, I really enjoy this. Like I genuinely want to get properly published one day. After high school, I went to university. I studied writing. So I did a Bachelor of Arts and I majored in writing and French, of all things.
Amazing.
Um, country boys, bogans, don't don't move to the city and study writing and French. It was seen as very yeah, like very, I don't know how to say this, but it was seen as like a very kind of, well, probably gay, to be honest. It was seen as like, what kind of man are you if you're going to study writing and French and you're going to move to the city, and it's going to be a big waste of time. But I loved it, and I just thought I'm going to do what I love. So, started writing, studied French, did that for a few years, graduated. There's a moment after I graduated, which I often talk about because I don't think we prepare arts graduates for after their course, like after you've done a degree in your art form. There's no structure anymore. You don't have classes to attend. You don't have a lecturer or a supervisor or professors or anyone looking out for you or telling you what to do next. And so a lot of them just fall into this abyss where they just stop writing. And it's
Mm.
like, okay, well, that was a fun 4 years of study, but now I've got to get into the real world and do something real with my life. And that's what I had when I graduated. Everyone around me was kind of saying, all right, you've had your fun, you've done your weird kind of your gay writing French thing. Get real now. Go get a big boy job. Like I was literally told, go get a big boy job, or maybe you should do law or medicine or engineering or something that's kind of meaningful to society.
Mm.
And so because of all that, I ended up working in a bank. I went and worked in a bank and I was a banker for a while. And it's not a good career move for an artist. Can I just suggest, like,
Mm.
getting there every day and telling people, do you want some more debt? Do you want another credit card? I'm sure you want another home loan. That was not fun to me.
Mm.
So I'm always just kind of pointing that moment out to people and saying, like, it's important not to abandon your dreams after you study them. A
Mm.
lot of people do. Like so many people I went to uni with just didn't make it and got a job, and that's where life takes you. And it's really easy as well because it's like life is expensive. You've got to pay rent. No one takes writing very seriously when when you're at a party and you say, "What do you do?" You're a writer. Oh, so have you had anything published?
Mm.
And if you can't say yes, and I'm a big deal, everyone kind of turns their nose up at you. And that was my whole life. That was every time I'm at a party, every time I'm at a barbecue, like someone's there turning up their nose because you want to be a writer, but you're not published yet. And you don't, what are you really doing with your life? There was such judgment.
Yeah,
So
especially in Australia, like I find like one of the reasons I first started networking with American friends was because the Aussie circles can be really brutal like that. Unless you're already successful, there's just a lot of doors slammed in your face, a lot of seats not pulled out at the table ever. And yeah, like I appreciate you drawing attention to that because that in between part, Like every writer who's successful in any way goes through that. And like that's part of why we do the podcast because we want to kind of gather each other and be like, hey, we are actually a
Mm.
community, all at different stages, all trying to do this wild, incredible thing.
You're right. It is so important, the community, like
Mm,
finding the tribe aspect, because we do all lift each other up. And if
yeah.
you don't find those writer people, I think that's when you do fall into the abyss and you go work in a bank because
Mm,
everything around you says that's a better decision. I actually think it's really interesting as well. You pointed out the cultural difference because I think you're right. Like me being 13 and being on internet forums. I know it's Pokemon. It might sound naff or whatever, but it was serious for me that
mhm.
I was around other writers, and most of them were American, and they were all cheering each other on and being really positive and being like, "Yeah, go get it," and like go be a writer and cheering each other on in a way that my mates at high school in Australia were not like that.
Oh no.
Like it was very much like, yeah, what are you doing? You can't make it. You're not going to do it. And I do wonder if there is a cultural difference there where,
I
you
think
know,
there is from my
yeah,
experience. It's like in Australia, it's like you're cringe until you like already are super successful to like the non-bookish people. And the bookish people think you're just trying to get something out of them if they're successful until you're already like got something to show. Whereas I have found that with the States that like there's a lot more open community where people just wanna, yeah, help each other, more open to different concepts of writing, whatever. So
mm, no,
yeah.
yeah, I do. Yeah, I did. I had that experience, online, and
Yeah.
but that said, I then went seeking it in Australia.
Yep.
Like once I started writing after being in the bank, and I started writing more seriously. I started a fantasy novel. I jumped on Twitter and I found the Aussie writing community and the West Aussie writing community, which is smaller again. And so that was really cool because it felt like I was on those forums again. It felt like I had this like
Yeah.
really small group of people who were like, cool, we know we're in this little like, like we think we're important, but we know that Western Australia to the rest of the world is just like maybe not visible. And so we kind of, we're a small market. Let's stick together. Let's be mates. Let's like lift each other up and cheer each other on. And to some extent, all of Australia, the Australian writing community has a huge thread of that as well.
Yeah,
But
100%.
especially the small WA writing community can be very much supportive like that. So,
Mm,
so yeah, that helped me out a lot.
yes.
I love it. I personally, on the state side, like I love all things Australian because obviously has started this trend for me. But like I love like your guys's culture and like understanding and seeing different parts of the world. And so having books like yours, having shows like yours, because you have a book and a show, you have multiple
Mm,
books and a show, I think is just a beautiful thing for all of us to explore
Mm,
and to learn from. And yes, I think here in the States we are very naturally like we love the arts. We fight for the arts. We have to fight for the arts at every given moment. But like we
mm,
love writers and
mm,
creatives and I love that even a little bit helped in any way. And now here you are building more community in Australia and now
mm.
we get to benefit. So yay.
Yeah, full circle. Yeah, it's nice.
Yes, I'm so stinking pumped for you, honestly. But I see we're at 4 minutes to go in our countdown. Um,
How?
I don't
it
know
flew
how.
by.
It
Oh
flew
my
by.
gosh.
Melanie and I were just sitting here just in awe listening to you.
Yeah.
But I want to ask first, like our favorite question, which is
Mm.
looking back at all you've accomplished, what advice would you give a younger version of yourself before you started this journey? Although I guess you've been starting it since you were really little.
Mm,
So
mm. Well, do you know what? I think I would say start writing earlier because I did lots of I'm just writing this little thing or I'm just writing fan fiction or I didn't want to get serious because
mm,
I thought it might be bad. And I wish I had started writing serious publishable stuff earlier because it takes ages to get it published. So I think you start writing and let the first draft be really rubbish and total horseshit. It's okay. You can fix it
Yeah.
later. I'm always telling writers, yeah, to do that. Just start writing and let it be bad.
Mm. And what advice
really
would
good.
you give that uni student who was sitting in the bank?
Leave the bank.
Literally.
You'll make less money initially, but it'll pay off eventually.
Yes. I love that. I
Literally.
love that. Yeah, I can just picture like just the soul sucking like how you were feeling working at the bank, like having to put on a suit and just like having to be there and not writing. No, we can't have that. We can't have that.
No.
So good. I'm glad you took a stand and you went for it. Did you quit working at the bank to start writing, or was that like a came
I
after
did.
sort of thing?
I went back and did an honors year to kind of get back into writing, and I
Mm.
quit the bank to do that. And I worked with really great people as well, which is kind of what made it bearable. Like it was fun,
That's good.
but I was like, I'm gonna just be depressed and never write again if I don't quit. So yeah, so I'm
Yeah.
always just telling people like, quit your day job, man. Like just do what makes you happy.
Yeah, especially in a
Hey, life
country
is
like
short.
Australia.
Yeah.
100%. No, I agree. Life is too short, and especially in a country like Australia, just do the thing, you know? Just fuck around and find out, see what happens. You're gonna kill your soul anyway if you're doing something that's like crushing it like that. But I see we have like a minute and like not even 2 minutes left. Is there something like you're super looking forward to in these coming weeks?
I'm touring very, very briefly. I'm just doing Sydney, Perth, and Geraldton just to promote the new release of Invisible Boys. And the TV show comes out tomorrow. We're doing this chat the day before it comes out. So yeah, I'm really pumped to see people's reactions.
I'm
Yes.
so freaking excited for you. I'm gonna be buying all of your books
Yeah.
and finding a way to stream it over here in the States because it truly sounds so so good. So
Thank you. Yeah.
congratulations again and again. It's so amazing.
Actually, that's my thing. It'll be I want the US deal. That's what I'm excited
Yeah.
about. I want to see the
Manifesting.
TV show. I'm going to manifest the TV show gets a deal over in the US, and then the book follows straight after, or at the same time.
Yes,
At the same time, right? You want it at the same
all of
time.
it.
It's
Please
happening.
manifest it. Yes.
I can feel it in the air, in the Aussie air, in the American air. It's happening and we're manifesting it. But thank you so much for coming on today,
Thank
like
you.
on this like hectic week. We're so excited to celebrate with you. So excited for Invisible Boys to come out. And yeah, you're a legend. You're an Aussie
You guys are
icon.
legends. And thank you both so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Oh, it's our pleasure, honestly. So
Yeah.
happy for
Woo!
you.
Yeah.
It's gonna cut us off any second, so I'll let you go before it does, so we're not just hanging in the air. But yeah, we're cheering so hard for you, and we'll have to have you back on again because apparently we can talk the house down.
Yes, as it turns out. I would love that. Please. Yeah, I'd love to come back and do round two.
Yeah. Bye.
Yay!
Awesome. Cheers, guys. Thank you. Bye.
Cheers.